Public affairs programming on Look TV is underwritten by the generous support of Pinnell's Restaurant, classic Italian-American food since 1922, and Stored Tech, technology solutions for computers, networks, and phone. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
1922, Babe Ruth debuts with the Yankees. WGY signs on air. Exterminator wins the Saratoga Cup, and Pinnell's Restaurant opens its doors for the very first time. For 5 generations, Pinnell's has been preparing delicious Italian food, served in a comfortable, home-like setting where everyone is welcome. 90 years of authentic Italian recipes, 90 years of the freshest ingredients, and 90 years of the finest classic Italian dishes, all made daily by hand. Pinnell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga dining tradition since 1922.
Most cybersecurity firms deal only with prevention, the systems that block hackers and viruses. Stored Tech knows the root cause is actually good people doing bad things. So we offer a security training program which includes certifying all participants to show they understand the basics.
Technology solutions for computers, networks, and phones. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
The Saratoga City Council meeting, an inside look at the decisions that affect you and our community.
Tonight we have one public hearing on the agenda, and that public hearing is the comprehensive budget, the 2021 proposed comprehensive budget. And at this time, I'll turn it over to Commissioner Madigan.
So, Mayor, I would really like to start this meeting, and I have some notes that I would like to open the public hearing, but I am hearing there are 20 or 30 people waiting still to get into this meeting.
Okay.
So I do really want them to have this context. I don't know how long it takes.
So we only have 2 more seats, Commissioner?
Yeah, I know. I guess they don't know that either. But all right, well, it's being filmed, so we're going to get on with the meeting. This is the first public hearing for the comprehensive budget, the 2021 proposed comprehensive budget. According to our city charter, we are required to have 2 public hearings. Tonight's public hearing will be closed, and a second one will be opened, and that will remain open until we bring the budget to pass. I have posted an open letter to all our recreation families on the city Facebook page, and I am hoping that recreation families will read this letter and also share this letter with the rest of the recreation community. There's been a lot of misinformation about the budget and about recreation in particular, based on an email or a missive that went out on Friday afternoon. And from what I can tell, it went to close to 10,000 email addresses. Some people live in the community, most people live in the community, some people don't, some of them just get returned. Before I kick off the public hearing, I also wrote an opinion piece, a reader's view that was published in the Saratogian about the budget, and I want to make sure families have context about the budget before we start the public hearing, so I am going to read that, and that will just take a minute or 2. I presented the comprehensive budget to the City Council on October 6th. Since then, I have noticed a significant amount of confusion regarding the realities to which this budget responds and how it will affect the delivery of city services. The unpleasant reality is that the economic impacts of COVID-19 are real and far-reaching, with no end in sight. State and local governments are in dire need of aid from Washington, our federal legislators. Absent such aid, services will be compromised and or eliminated, with millions of people losing jobs and or significant portions of their income. The city of Saratoga Springs is facing a significant revenue decrease in 2021, having already suffered severe reductions in 2020. And we have to be prepared to carry on. We still need to have a city that can carry on without that much needed federal assistance. I estimate that the revenues underlying the 2020 comprehensive budget will be $6.8 million less than those originally budgeted for in 2020. And that's after increasing property taxes by 6%. That means planned spending for 2021 needs to be $6.8 million lower than was planned in the original 2020 budget. That's a 14% decrease. This is the challenge I am faced with as Finance Commissioner. Cuts in spending must be made. It is my job to work with this council to figure out how. We can't spend money we do not have. We can't pay for operating expenses with debt. That's akin to a family borrowing money to pay for groceries and housing, and that's not sustainable, nor is it allowable by law. To minimize the number of required layoffs, the budget contains a 10% reduction in all city employee salary lines. With a 10% pay cut, we can limit layoffs, but they are still significant. It calls for a 25% additional reduction in public works labor lines and 15% reduction in public safety, police, and fire labor lines. A lower pay cut requires more layoffs. Fewer layoffs will require a larger pay cut. Furthermore, budgeted recreation department expenses have been reduced but not completely eliminated. The city's recreation department has, right now, under the proposed budget, a $1.2 million expense budget, maintained with the cost of the director of recreation, one staff person, building and grounds maintenances, and utilities. This means recreation programs cannot occur, though, with any additional cost to the city. We've already contributed $1.2 million under this budget. It does not mean that recreation is shutting down. As a budget-neutral programs are implemented, and I have all the confidence in the world with our recreation director, John Hurleman, the budget will be amended to include them. And just as an aside, this summer, the director offered Camp Saratoga, and that was completely revenue neutral. So we have time to plan for some programming for our families and our recreation communities throughout these next couple of months. This is the best effort to construct a budget that works for the city while minimizing pain. I firmly believe it is better to share pain equitably amongst all of us than to ask relatively more of some than others, and that is what I've set out to do with this budget. As we address these challenges, we must also be concerned about the city's financial sustainability and longer-term fiscal health. We were able to tap into our reserves, our fund balances, to weather the pandemic through 2020. I've used similar funding within reason in 2021 to budget to mitigate expected revenue decreases. Allowing these reserves and balances to drop below minimum thresholds, and they have, will have material long-term consequences and should only happen as a last resort. But hey, this is the time to use it. We're in a global pandemic. With close to a $7 million expected reduction in revenues, the city must closely manage costs, reducing salaries and headcount while ensuring that all non-essential services or programs are budget neutral. We must weather the uncertainties of 2021 together, as we are all riding out the same storm in the same proverbial boat. With a little luck, too, 2021 is not the time for unexpected or unnecessary additional expenses. And I actually believe, in terms of the charter that's up for referendum this November, would incur a very large cost on the city in 2021. I am hoping that we can all work together as a community to avoid such expenses and meet the challenges together as the great city that we are. Thank you, Mayor, and we can open up the public hearing.
Thank you, Commissioner. If anybody would like to speak on our budget, please step up to the microphone and state your name and address. And this is only for the comprehensive budget. Nobody's here to speak on this? Okay, thank you.
My name is Pat Kane. I live at 19 Marion Place.
Can you speak up?
Yes, please. My name is Patrick Kane, 19 Marion Place. I'm here, obviously, to address what Commissioner Madigan just said about the cost of charter reform. It is an absolute lie. An absolute lie, and I'm happy to show any about that. Pardon me?
No, this is...
But I think you just brought up the cost of charter reform.
Excuse me. This is about the comprehensive budget.
Right.
So if you have a comment on...
large costs that are not there. And what I'd also
okay,
then,
sir, if you're going to banter with me, it's over.
I'll change my topic, please. My topic is the amount of water loss that we've seen in the last 6 years.
Okay, this isn't about water loss.
It's about budgeting.
Budgeting.
Right. So you've lost 239, I'm sorry, $2 $2,394,759 just in the last 6 years in our what's called unaccounted water. And it has nothing to do with COVID. It's all to do with mismanagement. And I have to say, there are revenue opportunities out there that you should take advantage of and that will help burden this rather than to lay off people that actually we need very desperately.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening. I'm John Hurlman. I'm the administrative director.
John, can you pull that mic up and get closer because it's hard for us. You might be hearing, but we have a hard time hearing.
Okay. As the administrative director of Recreation, I'm here tonight to say thank you for your hard work and support of Recreation. I know tonight you'll hear from many of our rec families who just want to share how important Recreation is to them. I hope that we have a chance to listen to them. We also understand the tremendous financial crisis that we all face due to the pandemic. That funding anything this year, we understand, is going to be a real challenge. I know that I'm going to work my tail off to make sure that we have recreation programming. I know that from each of you, you're going to work just as hard to try to keep this city going. So together, through the budget process with the finance office and each of you, I know we can get through this, and just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you. So, we are really struggling to hear you. Yeah. Can you just take your mask off, Mary? Because you have 6 feet all the way around you. And see if that helps. Can you hear me okay now? What's that?
Can you hear me okay now?
Yes, I think that's better, right?
Okay. Better.
All right.
Thank you.
Connie Wojtowicz, 105 Elm Street. I understand that the economic crisis of our city is as dire as a discussion to make the Recreation Department revenue neutral. My 9-year-old daughter plays soccer through the Recreation Department, and it has been a welcome respite from the pandemic since our school district only allows for 2 days of in-person instruction. The reality that budget cuts are so deep makes the charter change vote all the more important. The fact remains that the pro-charter leaders have not disclosed or presented to the public what this change will cost as compared to the over 4,000 current city budget lines that are publicly available. Transition costs, legal fees surrounding collective bargaining, and the actual numbers of positions and salaries that this new proposal entails have been completely ignored. I would like to ask if the architects of the proposal have furnished the city with a detailed comparative budget, including the extra transition costs as you plan for this budget. Thank you.
Thank you. So I do want to make a comment here. We have people waiting downstairs. So if you are here to speak and you could exit the building, that would be great, and let the other people come in because we are limited in our number of seats. So we'll continue on. Thank you.
My name is Dallas Wells. I've just been a volunteer basketball coach for 14 years in this town. I know how much it means to the families. I know how much it means to the kid. I think you're setting the wrong example by not having those programs there. My phone number is downstairs in the book. If I can help at all, give me a call. I'll do it for free.
Thank you. And I do want to make a point that these programs may be still there. We have to see if we can do this with a budget neutral. And I have John Hurleman, who has always worked magic in this department. And as a council, I can say that we all believe in his abilities. So anyone else?
Hi, my name's Lisa Morahan. I'm the executive director of the New York State Recreation and Park Society. John is a member of our society. He's very active statewide, and he's very active with our local park and rec professionals, supporting them. He is incredible, but he's not a miracle worker, and I do ask that you just include budget monies available for him to have a staff to implement the programs. I'm certain that he can definitely look at budget neutral programming, but certainly the support of the council is incredible, and to serve the community. While the budget dollars might not be there, I know the demand will be there, and he just needs to be able to serve the community with the health and wellness programs that they desperately need. So thank you so very much for supporting him.
Thank you.
All.
Hi, my name is Mary Brophy Magnus, 15 Cambridge Court, and I'm the daughter of the late Gail Purdy Brophy, who was a prominent athlete and the owner of Purdy's Wines and Liquors. Both her and I are longtime members of the Saratoga Winter Club and have excelled at the elite level in speed skating, competing internationally and at the top level in our sport. I'm currently a coach for our club, and I'm also still competing at the elite level. I am here tonight to represent the Saratoga Winter Club and all of our members. Some are currently working towards competing at the elite level, some with dreams of becoming an Olympian, which we have produced several of over the years. We also provide a home to older master skaters who just enjoy speed skating and realize the health benefit it offers. We provide an outstanding program for youth to gather in the essence of sport, either recreationally or nationally recognition. As a user group of the Weibel Avenue Ice Rink, our club is concerned about the potential interruption of operations at the rink and how it will impact us. We are also aware that the budget cuts impact a much wider swath of sports than speed skating and the ice rink, and we are willing to work with the community and the rec department during this time. My questions are, number one, is the Saratoga Winter Club considered budget neutral, and will we be included in the budget? Number two, do the user group ice rental fees cover the cost of operating the ice rink? And three, will there be a temporary added increase to keep the rink operational?
So this is a public comment period for the public hearing, so we don't banter back and forth, but I think John Hurleman can answer those questions, and he does when he does his budgeting, he'll know the answers to those. Also, I played many rounds of golf with your mom. She was a fabulous athlete, so she's very missed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, what the mayor is saying is important, and all those questions are important. And, I've been talking to John all day today. We've got a great plan to sit down. He has my support. He has the support of the budget. We just have more work to do. Rec is just not ready yet to unveil a program because there's also COVID and limited amount of participation that we can have in certain rec programming. So there's a lot that we're looking at and planning. And I should say, for those of you who are here, the first recreation budget workshop, I believe, is on Monday night. Yes, Monday, October 26th at 6 p.m. back here in the music hall. John will be making a presentation to the council and to the public. It's his first one. If he needs more time to keep refining rec programming, he will have that. But that's going to be his first sort of presentation to the council and the public about offering recreation programming and services.
Mayor, are we going to be responding at the end of public comment, or are we going to respond now?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Generally, it's at the end, but it's because it's the budget.
Well,
it's a budget
but
workshop.
the only thing that's happening is that people are leaving to give up their seats.
Yeah, so I'd like to make a general comment then about the budget.
Yeah.
The city right now has still not determined how we're going to maintain essential services. Essential services are what this city needs to continue to operate. They are water, sewer, roads, fire, EMS, and police. Unless we can assure those essential services are intact, we have nothing. We can't operate. You won't be able to drive to the ice rink. We won't be able to respond to a medical emergency. So that has to be our first priority as a city. Once we get those covered, then we have to look at anything else. So I just want to make sure everyone knows that. Right now, we do not have those essential services figured out. That has to be the first priority of everyone in the city.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Rod Nieri, 6 Hillcrest Lane, Saratoga Springs, New York. I am the president of Saratoga Youth Hockey here, and we also work out of the Weibel Rink as well as Vernon. I just wanted to add to what the Winter Club said, that we are a major user group of of these facilities, and we spend over $150,000 a year with the city. And we would like some assurances that that money is not going to be lost and we're not going to be losing the facilities. I do believe these facilities are revenue positive based on some of the information I've seen. I think we're looking for some assurances that the rinks won't be touched and that Vernon, which is currently down and getting a new compressor, is going to be brought back online.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Richard Sellers, Saratoga Springs. Just want to waive the Gazette editorial from this morning and reading about two sentences. There will no doubt be unanticipated expenses and delays, additional costs, and goes on to mention some of the reasons, and recommends voting against the charter change.
Okay, this is about the comprehensive budget.
because of
This
the
is
cost.
about the comprehensive budget, not about charter. Please, I don't want charter. Thank you. I don't want charter.
I think the thing to address, though, is the fact that any costs associated with charter change has not been worked in the comprehensive budget because we don't know what those costs are.
We don't know what they are, but that's not in the budget. So I cannot have charter tonight, please. You could do a public comment during the meeting.
Yes, public comment.
I
Public
think
comment.
we're in agreement that it's not in the budget.
It's not in the budget.
Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Sheila Cowison. This is my son, Levi. We live at 23 Sherwood Trail. We just wanted to show up tonight and say that we do understand the challenges that you all face given the current situation. But I did just want to come and make a public comment that the recreation programs have been a saving grace during this very trying period when so much of life has been disrupted for our children and for us. So I just want to urge you to work together to maintain some of the recreation programs and try to come to some creative solutions so that we can continue to provide some of these services to the children. It really is in the best interest of our kids' mental and physical health. So I just wanted to make that comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Chris Anderson. I live at 36 Whirlaway Boulevard. First and foremost, I just want to thank you. I know you all have a very difficult job. We're obviously in the midst of a global pandemic, unlike anything we've ever seen. So I think there was a little clarification tonight, but it still leaves a lot on the table. And I know John and everyone else is going to have a big job to do. There's certainly some gaps here. I mean, I have a 4-year-old daughter who's has partaken in several of the recreational programs, ice skating and soccer. I just think we also need to consider the impact on local businesses this decision has as well. I know that we go out a lot after these programs and we support the downtown businesses and we go out to eat, we go shopping. Decisions like this are going to have downstream effects as well. And, with what's going on with COVID, we see these businesses closing and we need to do what we can to support them and to try and drive economic development. Even the YMCA, there's a lot of similar programs that they offer for our children that my daughter also participates in, so they get some feed off of that as well. So I just think that we need to look more at just aside from the recreational program, but what other impacts it will have on the local community with this decision. And obviously, as we work through this budget, there's going to be lower income families who may not be able to afford to subsidize, portions of their participation in these athletics. And I just really hope and urge all of you to take that into consideration and to see what we can do for those folks, because I'm certainly willing to do my part to assist them and help people out that are not in a position like my family is. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I just want to say quickly, this idea that we don't understand the impact it would have on children is completely false. I have a 4-year-old, a 7-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 10-year-old. They all use the rec. We all, in our own ways, have a personal connection to the rec department and understand the tremendous effect this has on children's mental health. But until we can guarantee that we have roads, fire, and police, we can't go to rec yet. But that being said, we know that John Hurleman is working hard to make sure we can come up with some kind of programming. So I can assure you we all very much care about the welfare and mental health.
We're all on the
of every
same
children.
page here. We're all on the same page. We all appreciate recreation. We all know that we need recreation, but we have to work together as a council to come together with each department and see what we could do. We were told the same thing about summer camp, about having it a budget neutral, and John did it. So I have great faith in my team to pull some programs together. So I really believe that, we do have essential services are always first. Okay, we have to have those, and then the recreation will be there too. But I'm going to say, if we could do budget neutral, recreation will be there. We talked to the commissioner of finance, so I think that we're all on the same page. We just want to keep everybody in the community on the same page too. These are very trying times. Commissioner Madigan and her team are doing amazing work trying to get this budget together because it's $7 million short. I mean, that's a crazy number. So we all have to take our hit. There's no question. And I think that, together we could pull this off. So anybody else for comment?
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, fellow citizens. Joseph Ogden. I live on the west side with my wife and children.
Joe, I can't understand you. Can you take your mask off? Thank you.
No problem, Mayor. Joseph Ogden. I live on the west side with my wife, Lisa, who's here with me tonight, and my two kids. A few things. First of all, genuine congratulations to the city and Commissioner Madigan and Deputy Ladd and Budget Director Bachner. It is no small thing to put together a budget in the kind of macroeconomic environment that we're in. Very, very difficult. You're not going to make everybody happy, and it's very challenging. And this is really kind of a crazy time for everyone. And congrats on that. It sounds like there's a lot of work to do, but it's very, very hard to be in that spot. And again, thanks for listening to everyone tonight. Just a few things. I'm hoping that while the comprehensive budget has a 6% year-over-year property tax increase, even a 9 or 10% increase, which is significant, I'm not discounting that at all, that's a large tax increase. Even if you go back through the last 8 to 10 years, even a 9 or 10% property tax increase would still only, year over year, if you did it retroactively, would only get us to about an inflation adjusted kind of tax rate right now on a $400,000 house or $200,000 house, however you want to measure it. So even if we went up just by the rate of inflation as measured by CPI or by the allowable property tax increase that the state imposes, we'd still probably from A to B probably be at 10, 11% right now over the last 10 years. We'd average out. So under the Commissioner's leadership, we've had very really effectively flat taxes. So I would ask the Council to consider that. We can restore some essential services. We can restore something in rec. I think that would be something that we have to think about. Yes, we enjoyed a long time, again, because of good stewardship of the city's finances, because of the economic realities here in the town, and that was good. But now I think it's time for people to consider more taxes. And again, when you average that out, you're probably in around CPI inflation or the property tax cap increase over a long period there, the last 8 to 10 years or so. The rec piece, we feel the same way. It's disappointing to see rec zeroed out. While rec is not a critical or essential service, it is nonetheless an expected service, and in a COVID-19 environment, it has been. I want to echo the comments that the young lady made before over on Sherwood Trail. It really helps with, I think, MH issues and with physical health issues. And there's such a dearth of things for kids to do right now that's in a safe, comfortable environment. Let's find a way, whether it's through increased revenues on the property tax side, maybe we do higher fees and we pivot to a hardship waiver for families who can't afford them. We don't want kids who are less fortunate or who have special needs or who can't swing it to not participate in that. So you do the hardship waiver there, and everyone else pays a higher fee. Maybe we do some kind of hybrid staff volunteer model. Maybe there's people in the community that we can work with on that. And certainly Camp Saratoga too. Not only is that a rec initiative, I would argue that's an economic development initiative too, because it's really de facto childcare in a lot of ways, while it's recreation too, but it allows parents to have a comfortable place to drop their kids while they go do their jobs, again, all amidst a global pandemic. So congrats on getting this far, and we hope that some things can be reworked, but very, very challenging. And again, specifically with rec, we'd love to help how we can increase revenues from taxes or fees, and let's kind of restore some of those rec programs that are critical to a lot of people, and a lot of people are expecting that, and a lot of people are hoping that we can do something different. So thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else sitting in the audience that wants to speak so we can give up a chair after you speak?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Sam Brewer.
Can you get a little closer, Sam? Thank you.
I could, yeah. Can you hear me okay? Great. Okay, I just came from the recreational fields. I'm a volunteer soccer coach there. I've done
you have to get close to the microphone. I can't hear you.
I would, Mayor, but it could be contaminated. So.
Well, then I can't hear you. So you
can't hear me, Mayor?
No.
Well, I'm going to continue to speak.
Okay.
All right. So I just came from the recreational fields a few moments ago, where I've volunteered for many years, And as you know, I mean, think of this as a classical analogy, if you will. I was an air centurion, a flying air centurion in the Air Force for about 10 years, and I was also trained by the Army. And the condition of the young warriors that are coming out onto the fields from the city is very poor after 6 to 8 months of being locked inside. So I would say that the prioritization of the budget needs a lot of work. The national government, I've never seen a national government abandon its city-states the way this has occurred over the past 6 months. I think that you should immediately go to the polls if you're a citizen of this country to throw the current administration out, to vote somebody in.
Are you talking about the budget, our budget? Wait a second, Sam. No. You need to stop. This is about the comprehensive budget. I don't know where you're going off on left field here.
I am speaking about the budget.
Okay, then get it back to the budget.
The only way the city is going to realize any of its lost revenue is if the current administration gets kicked out of office. That's it. That's the only way. They are abandoning all of the democratic cities to wither and die. That's what's happening right now. I would encourage the city to think of creative solutions to the problem. Perhaps payroll promissory notes contingent upon additional federal government purchases of city debt. That way you can issue a city employee a promissory note for the budgeted money that's not there. So they can get a paycheck of 80% of what they would have gotten, and they can get a promissory note that they can cash in as soon as the city receives its money a year from now. I would encourage you to look at those solutions as opposed to cutting departments and laying people off that you're going to need. Thank you.
One of the things I think Mr. Brewer was saying that I do think we all recognize as critical is that we all are in agreement that federal aid is necessary. I mean, we really need federal aid, so I think we can all agree to that.
So if you could all write your legislatures.
What's that?
All write your Albany legislators and tell them that we need funding.
Yes, contact your legislators on a state level. Tell them we need federal aid.
I am hearing that people at home who are watching on the live stream are unable to hear out of that microphone. So I don't know if we have a little table, and I would be happy to drag my microphone over because I'm hearing that our microphones are more clear.
Is there any way we can turn up the volume on that microphone?
I don't know about that.
Anyone? No.
Let's take the empty chair and bring it over.
Let's do that.
Okay, can you grab that chair, Lindsay? Thank you. I'll do it, I guess.
Maybe we can wipe down the microphone too.
You gotta lean over.
It'll go that way. Yeah.
Oh, good.
It'll go.
Maybe this will help. Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner.
All right. Good evening. My name's Frida Miller. I am obviously a rec soccer coach. I have heard and I understand the challenges that you guys have had coming up with this budget. But I also think I've never been to a meeting ever, any of this sort of thing. And I did it because this rec soccer, rec in general, gives families hope, which right now is something that you cannot find very often. So you please hear it from the lay person, from the soccer mom, that we need this because it gives me hope. It gives me someplace that I can do, something I can do with my children, something that I can invest in my own health. And this is a more comprehensive than just recreation. So, I mean, I don't know what else to I know that those are very difficult things in a time when it's hard. But just hearing from the layperson who would never have ever come to a meeting ever before, that this is important enough to bring me out of my kitchen, from the soccer field, to plead before you guys to make room for us and not to lose us. Because hope is something that's very rare these days. Thank you.
Thank you.
You can feel free to pick up that mic if you like.
Can you hear me if I do this? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but the people at home can't, so you're going to have to use that mic. You can hold it in your hand.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is also what I'm hearing.
Either one. Whatever you choose.
I'll just do this one.
Okay.
I'll just make this brief. My name is Michael Burke. Appreciate you guys having all of us here tonight.
I know you're going to hear a lot from the rec parents that are out there. I'm another one of them, and I appreciate all the comments that I could hear from out in the hallway. I do know that you all empathize with the situation, the fiscal situation you're up against. I would just implore you, as a businessman for many, many years, we always think very short term, right, as opposed to long-term impacts of making some of these decisions. So as you look at the fiscal situation, I just read an article, I can't cite it right now, but it was in early October in the New York Times that talked about the dearth and void of youth sports and kind of the long-term impact that'll have on youth health over the many, many decades to come. So looking at that holistic long-term kind of view, what that does for them kind of psychologically and that, in their growth on that front, physically. And there were stats that were cited in that article, which I'll happily email to you after the meeting tonight, but it talks about something like 65% of kids that are out of sports for a year or two never return from that. So we could be creating a generational problem. I understand, the need to satisfy essential services first. The other thing I'll say is I'm not a citizen of Saratoga Springs, but I've used Saratoga Springs Rec for a very, very long time. I have 2 daughters. They're avid future Olympians on the ice, I would have to say, as a proud father. But and I don't want them to miss out on that. And the one reason we come to Saratoga is just the first-class facilities. You guys are a beacon. My 2 daughters, from an equity perspective, don't have the chance to get on ice up in Glens Falls or Clifton Park anywhere near what they do down here, right? And when they learn to skate at those beautiful programs, they have dozens and dozens of kids every year. It costs tremendously less than you would have to pay if you played hockey in Glens Falls or Clifton Park. And it just gives so many kids an opportunity to have this, during these very long winters, and this one probably being the longest one we're going to have in a long time. So, again, 2 things. More clarity on what the budget will ultimately look like and what services will be impacted. I think there's some fuzziness that I think you alluded to. I couldn't hear it all. That will be clarified in the coming weeks. And taking that holistic, long-term kind of fiscal impact view to the extent possible. So, thank you.
So if I can just respond briefly, since you weren't able to hear my whole opening statement.
Sure.
The rec department has been given time to develop rec programming. They do have a $1.2 million budget as of right now. Their first budget workshop will be Monday, October 26th at 6 p.m. here in the Music Hall, where the Director of Recreation, and he will be working closely with me, the Mayor's Department, the Recreation Commission, the Friends of Rec, and community members to help provide recreation programming for the community in 2021. I'm just repeating this because I know some people are, just showing up.
I also just want to repeat that it was... Sorry, go ahead. Thought you were finished.
The other thing that they are trying to deal with are the restrictions that COVID now has on participating in indoor sporting events. So the whole revenue model looks differently today. So we are trying to communicate with you. I did post an open letter to recreation community members and families on our city Facebook page. And I did have an op-ed piece in the Saratogian sort of outlining at a high level what's happening with the budget right now. This is a proposed budget, and now we spend the next several weeks doing budget workshops with each of the departments, recreation, and then I bring back sort of an amended budget. It's going to be tough this year because we are lacking revenue, and that is due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And that's it, just to summarize a little more. For people who may not have heard my statement when they first came, you weren't here because of the long lines.
Thank you. 2 quick things. I want to ask everyone to wait so we can wipe off these microphones before someone else comes to comment. I'm just not comfortable with people continuing to touch these. Eileen's is grabbing some wipes right now. But then also, by no fault of yours, it is really confusing for the entire public that you just got one little piece of what this comprehensive budget looked like. And what I'm encouraging everyone to do is go to these workshops and understand what this looks like for the entire city. And I think it will make more sense to everyone. But I do regret that this one piece of information was put out because I think it just confused the public at large, understandably, about what the cuts were and how they were made.
Yeah, agreed. And that's where I think we landed as I started to dig into it. So, but I think it's important to hear everybody out and not be defensive. I think it just expresses, our public will that this is obviously very important to the people of the area. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? So you could use a stand-up mic if you face it towards you and take your mask off if you feel comfortable with that. Okay, that's fine.
Again, very impromptu. Coach Miller, I was just at the game with her, and I understand that you guys probably feel like we're coming at you with all of the rec, but that was quite a threat to the community to see and hear that. And it really is the youth of the nation right now that is in trouble. And if we see these kids and we don't provide anything for them to go to, which is one thing that this community prided themselves on for such a long time, it would be a really devastating loss. And in regard to the parks, the ice skating rink, if the maintenance of those isn't kept up to some degree, we're going to watch these buildings fall apart so quickly. The Suzanne Lyle Park, I was born in 78, and I remember that case very vividly from this area. And all the tributary that was put into that and the work for her memory, it would be a shame just to watch it go into a place for kids to hang out when they're not in school. The bathrooms, like everything is just going to fall apart if there's no maintenance provided.
So maintenance is in the budget for all recreation facilities. The other piece that maybe you missed, because they do have a $1.2 million budget right now, today. That's a skeleton budget for rec, but it includes maintenance and operations of the facilities and the grounds.
I do think is your job on the board then that you guys should put that out there, or you're going to have a lot of...
We're just in the beginning process. So
Yeah.
this is just the beginning process. We go through this until the end of November, and then we'll have a budget. But, I have great faith in the Recreation Department. As I said before, John Hurleman has worked miracles over the summer. He's proven himself. So I believe that, it's all going to work out to some degree. We just have to be patient. We have essential services that are more important at this point. If we don't have police and fire and DPW picking up the snow and the leaves and all that to get trucks through and keep people safe, that's number one. And then recreation is another high priority. We all care about our children.
Yeah.
Our children
Maybe
are
to
our number one asset.
alleviate a little bit of the panic that was kind of like...
Well, I think that,
instilled right away.
I think people maybe, I don't know if they overreacted, but I think that I do think with COVID, everything gets a little bit bigger, right?
Absolutely.
So
Yep.
I just want to really make sure that everybody understands that this council sitting in front of you is going to work together, and I can guarantee you with the Recreation Department Director John Hurleman and the Commission, it will all be okay.
All right.
I really
That's
think
what
that.
we like to hear.
Thank you.
Now, I want to give the people their time, but you hit on a very important topic, and that's the notion of panic. And the Director of Recreation and I have talked about that panic.
Sorry.
An email went out on Friday because they want you to share your story about recreation, and that's important, and I get it. But it went out with very little context. It went out to close to 10,000 emails. I have been doing everything I can since I realized it went out to give more context to what's going on with the budget and more context to what recreation, they need more time to develop the programming so we can amend the budget. So please get that message out there. I'm doing everything I can to give you that message. I wrote an op-ed piece that's in the Saratoga, and I put an open letter out on the city Facebook page. I'm doing what I can. Recreation is important to this city. It's important to this council, and I want the people to know that.
And I very much so appreciate you acknowledging that and having the compassion for it as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I appreciate what you both just said, because I just think it's really important that we not all start making emotional arguments on behalf of whatever group it is we're representing. It's just not going to be productive, and it's too hard when we're already going through everything we're going through.
So can you get close to that?
Can you hear me here?
I can hear
Is that
you.
good? Thank
Yeah.
you. My name is Elizabeth. I have 3 children. I live in Saratoga Springs. I'm a homeowner. I'd like to bring this one home. I think everybody else would like it as well, so I'm going to speak quickly. It's hard to think of something more wholesome than open skate. It is hard to think of something more representative of an all-American city than rec soccer. I think you know that, and I think a lot of people have expressed that. I would also like to draw some attention to Camp Saratoga. It seems there have been some changes that have already happened since that email was sent out. Is there any funding for Camp Saratoga currently secured?
Well, Camp Saratoga ran at budget neutral already, so this is exactly what the Commissioner of Finance says. If John can run budget neutral programs, he can go. But he has to prove that on paper to the Commissioner. And he ran Saratoga already, so
Yes,
we had
past summer.
success this summer. So yes.
Okay. I'm hoping that you continue to support programs like Saratoga and the program that was created to help kids who are learning at home. That's not just camp for kids. That functions as daycare for school-aged children who do not have daycare options once school is out. If something like that were not able to continue, it would make it particularly difficult for families who need to find affordable daycare for children in the summer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes, my name is Brett MacArthur. I'm at 4 Roosevelt Court. I've been a long-time resident of the city and also have done coaching for years, have a non-for-profit that's been closed since March, so I understand the challenges that are before you, and I honestly don't envy the position that you're in. I think that what everybody in this room right now can all agree on is that, you know, the youth is something that we need to put our priorities into. They're the silent sufferers in what we've been experiencing here since March. When we run into adversity, and in coaching, the lesson and the message that I always send to the kids is that you need to think outside the box. You got to get creative. And with that, you know, I challenge you, and along with John and his department, is that we have to think outside the box. I know that normally you bring your revenue in with sales tax, the TREC, and, you know, obviously our property taxes. I think you have a community here that is really pretty special in the sense where there's a lot of people that will step up to help meet a challenge. If we put that message out there in an organized, collective manner, I really believe that you'll find that this whole situation will go away. And the programs that John and the Recreation Commission have been able to offer will go on uninterrupted. I think if you propose, you know, an increase on the fees of what have been very affordable compared to other communities, a slight increase, I really don't think that you're going to run into much pushback from people. As long as we are understanding of people that might have a problem with it, and we make exception to that, I think there's others that will step up and be like, hey, no problem. Rec soccer, you need $30 more? You got it. No problem. I know that when you guys do I understand when you do your budgets. And let me back up. I used to have a camp up in Lake Pleasant, and we had an association. We had to put in a new sewer system, and it cost $30,000, and they broke it down into a special assessment for 1 year of what each of us had to chip in. When I say think outside the box of when you put out the new, you know, tax bill, that a 1 year, you know, $50 fee on a house that is valued up to $200,000, $75 up to $3, so on and so forth. And if you put forth something like that, I really believe that our community would embrace it. And again, if somebody's on hardship with losing a job, this or that, then we have to take exception to that and also consider that, all right, maybe this isn't good for them. But I'm confident that with, you know, John's leadership and everybody here involved, that we want to get this figured out. And if we think outside the box, we can make this work for the kids because they really need it. Thank you.
Thank you. And I also want to add to that is that I do agree we live in a fabulous community, a very giving community, and I think that working with the Friends of Rec, I mean, with the Rec Commission, I think that we can do something. So I think it's everybody pulling together. So thank you, sir.
I just think it's important to point out, though, so we set the budgets for our own departments, so I think these are all great ideas, but we don't make recommendations for other departments' budgets. So there's no bad ideas in this environment, but if you have an idea about the rec department and how they can do things creatively, I think those are great conversations to have directly with John.
And you could email us.
Yeah.
You could email myself, the mayor, or John Hurleman, or you can call us. If you have an idea, we want to hear it. Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Bart Bergbaum, 15 Bog Meadow Run, Saratoga. I'm here representing Saratoga Springs Figure Skating Club. So I just wanted to mention that I think that a lot of the issues and questions I'm receiving are just points of clarification, which a lot have already been clarified. But as a user group of the ice rink, which generates income, I was wondering if you'd clarify a little further as to whether or not, I know John is doing a great job, and you said that he's created a budget neutral this past season and looking to do that going forward. Are we also looking to generate additional income? Because we keep mentioning things like essential services, which if the rec department and or the rec facilities are maintaining budget neutral, is it something that we're trying to accommodate additional funds for other sources, or as long as we achieve that task, can we go forward? Because I'm not sure why you would take away income that's coming into the city. I don't understand why the rec department would be identified to take away and do budget cuts on when it has a positive net flow, if that's the case.
Would you like me to respond?
If you could, that would be
So
good.
the Recreation Department and John do an excellent job managing their budget, and with John every year trying to work toward making recreation pay for recreation. Our water pays for water, our sewer pays for sewer. These are things that your tax dollars don't pay for. But right now, that's not the model we have. There is a lot of revenue that rec brings in, but rec is an expense to the city. And I estimate $700,000 to $1 million, especially during the COVID economy when we're having a reduction in who can participate based on social distancing and other things that we need to follow. So this is why John needs some time. He's not being cut off from the city. He does have $1.2 million already to work with. We can be flexible, but we are looking at what we can do through user fees, which already exist today. Users pay fees to play soccer, to play basketball, to play lacrosse, to go to the ice skating rink. It's just something that really needs more time. That was in my budget message. And we have some great ideas, and they're going to come out. One of the ones we discussed today was, I don't know if you have noticed that during the summer months, John often hires young students to, we man the parking garages and we charge for parking on the weekends. That brings in a lot of revenue. So we might do something like that to help bring in revenue, to help supplement rec. We just need, in this case, more time to really look at how we can handle recreation going forward, and we will. Again, I invite people to Monday, October 26th at 6 p.m. to hear John's first presentation to the council on the recreation budget.
And I think it also might be helpful if you could identify a timeline to the public of as things are happening, the meeting on Monday, but at what point does the budget get completed? At what point, what can we do as user groups if we're willing to pay fees? When do you need that information from us? Because the uncertainty of the future becomes challenging for us as user groups also as far as continuing programming.
Well, I think that users should be meeting with John and to discuss that, right, John? Yeah, but I think that he could answer those questions and look at your numbers to see where they're at. I don't know your numbers on, maybe I should, but I don't. But, and I think that those are detailed things that I could say that Commissioner Madigan and myself have not looked at individual numbers. That's John's going to go through all that.
That would be helpful.
We vote on the budget by November 30th, though. That's the final.
The final budget.
We have to adopt our budget by November 30th. So that's kind of when this all will be.
So we're going to go through, each department has a workshop, and Commissioner Madigan, if you listen to her agenda tonight, she'll go through the whole budget process. But, there's workshops for each department, and then, we see where we can get funding, if we get federal funding, if we get anything. So, and then we vote on it as a council.
And once voted, can things change going forward after
Yes.
that?
Yes, I've made that very clear in the budget. All the budget materials are on the city website, by the way. And the budget message is worth watching. The budget can be amended at any time. Now, we have to pass the 2021 budget by November 30th. I can't amend during the month of December. I'm still in 2020. But as things evolve, on January 1, I can amend. On January 2, I can amend. On February, I can amend. In October, I can amend. And so we'll constantly be looking at things. If for some reason federal assistance doesn't come until January or February, we amend. So the budget is designed this year to have a lot of flexibility.
And is it also based on us not receiving state funding?
Correct.
Which hasn't been taken away yet, is that correct?
So the governor has basically told us, and again, I encourage you to look at the whole budget, that we should anticipate a 20% reduction in state aid, maybe CHIPS, and one of our other major funding sources is video lottery terminal, and I cut that by 50% because he cut that out of his budget entirely last year pre-COVID. The state is under as much of an impact from COVID as we are. States and local governments both need assistance. There just aren't. Neither one of us can print money, make money. We can only deal with the monies and the revenues coming in as we project them going forward.
I think the opportunity we have here, though, with rec is that the department has been heavily subsidized by the city up until now. So we have a moment here where we can reimagine the rec department such that moving forward, it's self-sustaining and it won't be affected by the whims of the economies and the up and down of whatever our local economy or national economy is. And so wouldn't that be great if we could reimagine it in such a way that we could guarantee rec services for kids no matter what the economy was doing, no matter what our budget was doing? And I think that's the opportunity that we really need to seize here and work creatively towards, because that I know as a family and a mom, that's what I want, is a rec department that can be guaranteed.
Thank you. Anything else?
Just as a user group, we certainly will hopefully will have the opportunity to participate. We'll meet with John, but I'm sure that all the user groups together would be willing to find a way to accommodate things going forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris Stewart, 34 Legend Lane. I'm a firefighter with Saratoga Springs. Just yesterday, I did 17 transports to the city. We had 4 turnover calls. That's 4 times that residents of the city had to depend on another ambulance to come and provide help. Our budget cut is going to hurt our staffing, hurt the response times, hurt the citizens. That's all I got.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'm Joyce Porter. My daughter skates at the skating rink. She's part of the figure skating club. And so I really want to say thank you for all the information that we've received from you guys tonight. I was one of those that was in a complete panic when I saw the 100% cut in the budget. So I appreciate all the information you're sharing, and I certainly look forward to the budget meetings that are coming up for the rec center. But I hope that, with that, we'll have an opportunity to really share some additional ideas. I think if we can run the place in the black, wouldn't it make sense to keep it running and maybe use some of those funds for another program that might be hurting? So, but just to say in closing that the place is not just an address, it's a way of life. For majority of the kids that skate there have skated there for 10 plus years. That's what they do. That's what they love. It's their passion. So we really want to keep that going.
Yes, we all understand that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rob Arrigo, 24 Preserve Way. I just wanted to touch base on the comment regarding raising taxes more than already is proposed in the budget in order to fund rec. With all due respect, I think that's a terrible idea. I think there's a lot of people hurting in this community already. We're looking at 12.5% unemployment, thousands of people without jobs. We have a hospitality sector that's hanging on by a thread. We have people that work in restaurants that can't afford to pay their mortgage and can't afford to pay their rent. With all due respect, raising taxes and making it harder for them to live, bad idea. Instead, what we should do is increase user fees. We should look at crowdfunding. We should look at philanthropy. This city is the most philanthropic city I've ever lived in my whole life. They raise money for every cause imaginable. There's a gala every month of the year. We can raise money for rec privately without asking elderly and single moms without hours at a restaurant to pay more in property taxes. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Well, one more.
Hi, my name is Derek Legall. I am the chair of the Recreation Department, and first of all, I'd like to say thank you to all of the City Council members. As a Rec Commission, we have a responsibility to bring any concerns to the residents of Saratoga Springs. When we saw the proposed budget, we decided as a commission to let the families know about this proposed budget. Was it a mistake on our part? I don't think so. Commissioner Manigan, you have always been supportive of the Recreation Department, and I thank you for that. You have a fiducial responsibility to the city. We have a recreational responsibility to the citizens of this city, and that's what we were doing, letting them know about the proposed budget. If we jumped the gun, shame on us. But that is our responsibility, as it is your fiducial responsibility to let the city know what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to comment that, I appreciate the Rec Commission and what they do, and I appreciate Commissioner of Finance, in the stresses that her department has. And I think, again, I'm going to reiterate that we are all working together to make this happen, but our essential services are number one. Okay, I want to make that perfectly clear. We need fire, police, and DPW, but recreation is going to happen because we have John Hurleman at the helm, and that's what I'm going to say, because he can create these budget-neutral programs, and I know he can do it, and we have a very, very good giving community.
And Commissioner Manigan, we have worked together in the past, and I hope we could continue that relationship to work together.
I'm just going to say that I think it was a mistake, because I don't want to set the tone here that we're all out for just our own, whoever we represent. And when you put out just one little tiny piece of what our budget's going to look like, and you play into people's emotions and make it seem as if we don't care about our kids and it's the first thing that's going to go, I mean, it really set a whole different tone for the budget season that I find really regretful. The last thing I want to do is have the fire and police department in here making their case, DPW making their case. The point is that we're working together to make sure we have the best result for everyone in the city. And I do think it's regretful that that email went out the way it did. So just want to make that point.
And Derek, I heard you say it might have been premature, but that's okay. It's over. There's water over the dam. We're moving forward.
And we move on and we learn from that.
Yes, right. And
Commissioner, I've lived here for 31 years. I live here because I feel safe, because of essential services. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I want to reiterate that I have a very good, strong working relationship with the Recreation Department, with the Director of Recreation, with the Recreation Commission. I understand that why you want to get the community involved and why you might want to send an email. I don't think you did anything wrong by doing that. But in this case, in the COVID economy, the communication lacked context, and it lacked detail, and it lacked a lot of what we're doing right now as a city council. And we've had a couple people show up, and I know we've got a lot of people watching on the live feed, and it was all over social media, and it was pure anger, rage, and panic. And so that was unfortunate. It was that part of dealing with it and trying to get the message and get it back under control and let the public know what we are doing and how we are working all together to offer rec services. And frankly, I think we still have a little, you heard people, they just don't know where to find their communication. They don't know what's right. They don't understand the budget process. This is my 9th year doing a budget. And I've never had people show up to a budget workshop or a budget public hearing because things have been good. Your taxes haven't gone up. So it is important with this budget, with the COVID economy, with everything that's happening, that we work even closely together on how we're communicating about the budget, about recreation, about police, fire, DPW, and all of the things that we're going to be doing over the next couple of months. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. Anyone else? We're going to close this, right?
This public hearing is closed, and a second one will open for the next meeting.
Okay, so we'll close this, and we'll move on to our meeting. So if you would like to exit, you could do that now, and then we'll go on. I'm going to get my microphone. Well, we got public comment. They're not using.
Thanks. You don't need a microphone.
Huh?
So you the mayor doesn't need a microphone. Too good.
And I want to thank everyone for coming and getting involved and learning what they can
Thank
about
you.
their
You don't need a
local
microphone,
government.
girl.
Thank you.
You good.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Present.
Present.
Here.
Present.
Here. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the public comment period. I would like to review how the public comment period works. Each person who would like to comment on any subject may speak up to 2 minutes without deferral of their time. There will be a bell to signify the end of your time. Public comment period will continue for up to 15 minutes. Please be respectful to the speakers while they are addressing the council and address the council as a whole. Please do not interrupt or talk over the person speaking or engage with other members of the public. As a reminder, public comment is not a dialogue or a discussion with council members. However, at the end of public comment, any council member may choose to respond to or comment. The public may also submit written comments to the council by regular mail or email address at public.comment@saratoga-springs.org, which is delivered to all council members and the secretary for the record. Anyone who wishes to address the council upon any issue may now come forward, state your name and address, and provide your comments. Anybody want a public comment?
Hi, Joseph Ogden. I live on the west side with my wife and my 2 kids. And thanks for your time again tonight here. I know I've got 2 minutes this time, so I'll be very brief. I wasn't planning on speaking twice tonight, but maybe it would just be helpful if they're at the budget workshop, which I think people will participate in, because there does seem to be some frustration on the city council side and on the public side. So if there's maybe a side-by-side, year-over-year document that finance and rec could work together, saying this is what the pre-COVID world looked like, basketball, soccer. Here's what the budget is now, because the $1.2 million that keeps getting brought up, that was not be discretionary for rec programming, right? That's really fixed costs. So that's really I think that's an important point. People getting kind of maybe stuck on that, and because we use terms like budget neutral and things. Some of that stuff is a little inside baseball or esoteric for people, and people aren't always maybe is understanding that. So I understand kind of the frustration on this side and that side tonight. So maybe there's a workshop, a handout or something, a year-over-year look, because effectively the programming has been zeroed out, right? The $1.2 million is really for John, for maybe one other person, just to keep the lights on, the fields mowed, the snow removed, right? It's for utilities, it's to make that kind of, so it's to keep the buildings, you don't want the pipes to freeze, you got to sweep the floor, that kind of thing. So I think the programming piece is what people most think of when they think of rec. They don't really think of the core operations, like the DPW and the commissioner's department. So I think there's $1.2 million, but that's not really for programming. It's for kind of core operations and fixed costs. So maybe if there was something that you could hand out next Monday.
I think that John could probably work on that and do it year by year. I think it'd be fine. And
it would be great. And as far as the tax increases and stuff goes, I know that's very hard to ask for people, but I think because we've had good fortune and some very good stewardship of the city's finances, when you really average it out, it's very close to inflation, the property tax cap. And when you kind of just think about, just asking people to think about it differently, I know there's a lot of hardship. You could even, whether it's rec fees or property taxes, you could work with people. There's nothing to say you can't work with people who are having true hardship and say, hey, well, we'll work something out. We'll take care of it. It's a hard time. So
Thank
that's
you.
my time. Thank you very much.
Anyone else for public comment?
Good evening, Council. My name's Sam Brewer. I previously spoke about the comprehensive budget. I live on Lake Avenue. I brought some props with me this evening. Worldwide, the situation is not good. Even in the best of times, all of our mathematical problems and models can't seem to get enough food to the right people at the right time, let alone worry about their higher needs. And in this country, we're very fortunate. In this city, we're very fortunate to be surrounded by very fertile cropland, and we have an excess of food to export. But even Congress isn't getting the financial situation right and the monetary policy right moving forward. So I brought a few things to show you. I brought, on the sidewalk the other day, I found a gold earring. There might be a 1/20th of an ounce of gold in here. It might be worth $100. In Nigeria right now, they're taking their fertilizer supply, their ammonium nitrate supply that they should be making into fertilizer to grow food, and they're using it for explosives in the in the gold mines, so that they can mine gold to buy food from other parts of the world to feed their populace. That will result in starvation in 1 to 2 years. I have a dollar bill. We make this by cutting down trees, and they're printing trillions of these. It's an obscene number of dollar bills. So you may, in your budget, you may see, well, we need to cut $7 million. Well, I'm not really sure what $7 million is. Right now, this is a box of spaghetti, a 1-pound box of spaghetti. It costs $1 and it has 1,600 calories, which is enough to keep one person alive for one day. And these are the types of things that you're going to have to start to think about as you move forward, trying to keep stability in the cities and trying to keep people fed and making sure that there's enough farm labor to harvest the crops and keep crops planted. So as you move forward in your budgeting process here, you have to realize you could run the whole thing on volunteers. There is no lack of labor in the country or in the city to do just about anything you want to do. Now you have to make sure that you can maintain financial stability.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, then I will close the public comment period and move on. There's no presentations tonight. We did have 2 executive sessions yesterday morning, and Commissioner Frank has an item on his agenda referencing that. The consent agenda. I move that the City Council approve the consent agenda as described with this agenda. This is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The matter passes. On to the Mayor's Department. My first item is a proclamation, and I'd like to read this, and I would like to have my good friend Johnny Wine come up to the front.
Aw.
Johnny, this is for you. Whereas on May 7th, 1983, John Wine began working for the city of Saratoga Springs. Whereas since that day, Johnny has been a reassuring presence in City Hall. He has distinguished himself as a hardworking and dedicated public employee. He has worked with a diverse range of people, both City Hall staff and the general public, and has always provided courtesy, patience, and understanding. We in City Hall know Johnny as a steady, dependable colleague and a friend who takes pride in his work and in the city, and who will always be ready to lend a helping hand and support. Whereas recently, Johnny announced his intention to retire from the city service on October 30th, 2020. Now, therefore, I, Meg Kelly, Mayor of Saratoga Springs, am pleased to join with my fellow City Council members, my co-workers in City Hall, my fellow Saratogians, Johnny's family and friends, in expressing our sincere appreciation and gratitude for his 37 years of service to our community, to congratulate him on the occasion of his retirement, and wish him the very best of health, happiness, and success in his retirement and future endeavors. Thank you.
Hey, John, I just want to wish you a happy retirement, too. I know John works for the Department of Public Works. He worked for me for the past 13, 14 years, done a great job. And we're going to miss you. And again, I know in 10 days you're going to be retired, John. I don't know if you got a lady friend, but if I can give you some advice, I think you might have one. Behind every retired man is a woman who wishes he'd go back to work. So beware, John.
Thank you, Johnny.
Thank you, Johnny.
Don't forget how much we all love our Christmas wreaths.
That's right.
Oh, the Christmas wreaths, right.
My second item is an announcement. Community Development Citizen Advisory Committee recommendations for the third tranche of the CDBG CV funding via substantial amendment to the 2019 CDBG PY Action Plan. The committee chair, Rich Ferguson, is with us tonight to present these recommendations. And Lindsay Connors from the Planning Department is with him.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I just got the last scribble done for what I was going to say. I can't tell you the pleasure and the surprise that I got when I received the phone call from Lindsay that we had a third tranche of money that we could put forth to help the community. Our little group of 12 people met 3 times over the last month. We met to discuss the new funding, to review the priorities of that funding. We reviewed the prior unfunded or partially funded applications. We reached out to the original applicants to offer them the ability to amend their grant requests. We made our funding recommendations. Then we met again to discuss the many, many specifics of our largest funding recommendation, which I will bring to you tonight. As such, I've been asked to read the following into the record. In response to HUD's allocation of third tranche funding to the city through the CARES Act to prevent, prepare for, and respond to the coronavirus pandemic, the 12-member Community Development Citizen Advisory Committee presents the following recommendations for a substantial amendment to the 2019 Annual Action Plan to facilitate the expenditure of Cdbg-CV funding to the City Council this evening. A public hearing on these recommendations will take place at the City Council meeting on November 2nd. Funding recommendations were informed by the CDC-AC, reconsideration of sub-grantee applications submitted under the first tranche, and an evaluation of gaps in support for Cdbg-CV funding priorities as adapted by City Council. Applicants were given the opportunity to update their requests to reflect any changes as the pandemic and its impacts had progressed. The available funding third tranche totals $358,743. Our recommendations. To Legal Aid Society of Northeastern New York, their homelessness prevention project, an additional $15,000. This additional funding will bring the total award for this project to $46,400. To the Saratoga Senior Center for Essential Services, an additional $15,000. This additional funding will bring the total award for this project to $30,109. To the Salvation Army, again for essential services, an additional $4,000. This additional funding will bring their total award for this project to $10,000. To the Mother Susan Anderson Shelter for essential services, $22,740. Funding to support the emergency shelter's case manager position. To the Pitney Meadows Community Farm for a greenhouse, $10,000. Funding to support the purchase and installation of a greenhouse to facilitate the farm's capacity to grow and supply fresh produce to our local food banks, shelters, soup kitchens, and not-for-profits on a year-round basis. To the Community Development Department for the COVID-19 Small Business Grant Program, $256,503. I will discuss this in just a moment. For the Cdbg CV administration, an additional $35,500. This additional funding will bring the total allocation to $71,500. Now, if I could, just a couple comments about the grant program. We recognize the severe economic impacts of the coronavirus pandemic on our small businesses and their employees. The Community Development Department and the Community Development Citizens Advisory Committee worked in concert to develop the proposed small business grant program. The program will be administered by the city's Community Development Department with aid from the Advisory Committee and funded through the $256,503 just mentioned. That is an allocation of the Cdbg CV CARES Act funding. It will serve to preserve jobs available to or held by persons of low income. Relief to small businesses through what we believe will be a provision of 25 to 51 grants ranging from $5,000 to $10,000. Applicants must commit to retaining at least one full-time equivalent position held by or available to a low-income employee for a minimum period of no less than 6 months. Grant applications will be accepted during a 4-week period in the fall and winter of this year. The exact dates yet determined. Immediately following the applications received, a subcommittee of the Development Advisory Committee will meet to evaluate the applications on the following, and these are still fluid, criteria: credit history, financial stability, job retention, feasibility, eligibility for the use of funds, absence of any benefit duplication from other federal government programs or loans, a demonstrated ability to adhere to federal employment and program requirements, and any additional criteria identified by the CDCAC. The following will weigh favorably on application evaluation: the preservation of more than one full-time equivalent low-income position, the applicant has attained or is pursuing WMBE status, the applicant is designated as non-essential, the applicant has been forced to lay off employees due to the pandemic, and the grant will enable the applicant to rehire laid-off workers. If we have a tie-break situation, the tenure of the business operating in the city will be reviewed. We are very pleased to present this and all of our recommendations to City Council, and I'll do my very best to answer any questions.
Thank you, Rich, and thank you, Lindsay. I know that we put this on a fast track, and I know that you worked very well, Lindsay, to put this together, and Rich, with your team and your committee. It's always nice to be called back to give more money out, so that's a nice thing. I appreciate you going back to those not-for-profits that didn't get full funding the first time around. I think that's important that we help them out. And helping the small businesses is a win for where we're at right now. So thank you both.
I want to thank you. think you told me 30 years?
20.
31? That's a long time.
Long time.
And thank you, because that's commitment.
Thank you.
All my pleasure.
Thank you, Rich.
That's commitment. And then to come back and do it again, and thank you to Lindsay. Thank you very much.
Thank you both.
Thank you. My third item is another announcement for the public comment period will be open for the 2019 Cdbg PY Substantial Amendment Cdbg CV third tranche funding allocation. The public comment period will be on the CDCAC recommendations provided by the chair is now open and will continue through November 2nd, culminating in a public hearing. The city will be utilizing a pandemic-related HUD waiver as included with the council-approved citizens participation plan, allowing for a shortened public comment period. My next item is to set the public hearing for the 2019 CDBG PY Substantial Amendment, CDBG CV third tranche funding allocation, and we would like that on November 2nd, Lisa. 5 minutes is fine.
6:30. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
I'm thinking, I mean, we just don't know. Right?
Yeah.
We want to make sure we give enough time to the public.
That's fine. Thank you, Lisa. My next item is another announcement, COVID-19 Small Business Grant Program. The committee chair, Rich Ferguson, presented the proposed program, and we will place the vote on the following agenda, which is November 2nd, simultaneous with the full slate of CBDG CV funding recommendations. There is no public comment hearing required for this funding. My next item is an announcement, the Homeless Court. Tonight I'm pleased to announce a new initiative between Saratoga Springs City Court and Transitional Services Association. The city's first homeless court will begin later this month. The court, public defenders, district attorney's offices, law enforcement, and social services community will work together collaboratively. The goal is to develop comprehensive approaches to the issues that keep people who are experience homelessness in a revolving door of offending, incarceration, release, reoffending, and rearrest. This approach has been used successfully in other communities around the country, and I am grateful to the Saratoga Springs City Court Judge Francine Vero and Executive Director of TSA Sybil Newell for making this a reality for us all.
I also want to thank Judge Vero very much for working with us on this.
Yes, thank you. My next item is a discussion and vote authorization for the mayor to sign addendum with Goldberger and Kremer. This addendum increases the cap on the contract with Goldberger and Kremer for labor and employment legal services by $10,000 through the end of the year. I move that the City Council authorize the mayor to sign an addendum with Goldberger and Kremer as described with the agenda. This is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The matter passes. My next item is discussion and vote approval to pay invoice dated 9/30/20 to Goldberger and Kremer in the amount of $1,965.50. I move that the City Council approve the invoice dated 9/30/20 to Goldberger and Kremer in the amount of $1,965.50 as described with this agenda. This is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The matter passes. My next item is discussion and vote authorization for the mayor to execute air rights easements amendment, and I'd like to have Vince DeLeonardis just come up and explain that a little bit.
Thank you, Mayor. We discussed this briefly yesterday at pre-agenda. The air rights easement is the document that allows the City Center Authority to construct the connector from the newly constructed parking facility to the City Center itself. The amendment proposed to the air rights easement agreement was an amendment that we requested, and it simply changes the insurance language regarding the amounts of liability insurance that they have to provide under the agreement. This was brought to my attention by the Director of Risk and Safety, Marilyn Rivers, and that is the only change incorporated in the air rights easement.
Thank you. And you could stay right there. Let me get this one done. I move that the City Council authorize the mayor to execute air rights easement amendment as described with this agenda. This is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The matter passes. My next item is discussion and vote authorize the mayor to execute city center lease amendment.
Thank you, Mayor. The lease agreement is the document that controls the ground for where the parking facility was constructed. There are two changes that are included in this amendment. The first one is with regard to the hours that city employees will be allowed to park in the facility. The lease agreement originally contemplates 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. At our request, they've agreed to change that from 7 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. The other change relates to the obligation of the city center to construct a portion of the Greenbelt Trail downtown connector. It was the hope at the time that we entered into the lease agreement some time ago that we would have the final documents and plans ready for the construction of the Greenbelt Trail that goes beyond the leased parcel to the end of Lake Avenue. They've constructed the portion in front of the parking facility itself, but we do not have the documents necessary to allow them to construct it beyond that lease portion. It was at our cost anyway, but the idea was since they had the equipment and materials, they were going to provide for that part. So since we didn't have our necessary documents ready, we're just removing that part from the lease agreement.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I move that the City Council authorize the mayor to execute city center lease amendment as described with the agenda. This is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The matter passes. I just want to make one quick announcement that the next City Council meeting will be on Monday night at 6:30, November 2nd. And that concludes my agenda. On to accounts.
Thank you, Mayor. The first item is discussion and vote. Accept donation of hand sanitizer, again from Cooperstown Distillery. Cooperstown Distillery has again donated hand sanitizer to the city of Saratoga Springs. This donation was 18 64-ounce bottles. Therefore, I move to accept the donation of 18 64-ounce bottles of hand sanitizer from Cooperstown Distillery, a value of $108. That is a motion.
Is there a second? Second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I actually wanted to bring something up. Commissioner Frank, Marilyn Rivers, who's the Director of Risk and Safety, and I know works under your department, indicated to me last week that we no longer as a city have any face masks to give out to our most at-risk populations in Saratoga Springs. And I think it's great that Cooperstown Distillery keeps giving us hand sanitizer. I think that's incredible. But it really concerns me when I hear from Maryland that we as a city going into cold and flu season, knowing that COVID, we could have another resurgence or round of COVID, that we as a city have no face masks to give out to our at-risk population. So I just wanted to see what you thought about that and if there was anything we could do about it.
I can discuss that with Marilyn tomorrow. I'll be more than happy to bring that up. We were lucky enough to get a pretty large donation of face masks back in April and May from the sewing lady. I forgot her name off the top of my head. They were part of the horse sign situation this summer. So we can reach out to them, and I'll speak to her and see what else she can get for us.
That would be great because we have some of our lower income seniors who are looking for masks right now. And I was able to connect them with someone who privately gave them some donations of masks, but I just think that is irresponsible for us as a city not to have some kind of stockpile of masks and sanitizer and PPE moving forward.
Any other questions?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The matter passes.
Thank you, Mayor. The second item is discussion and vote, merit for review to city and county planning boards, the Congress Park Center PUD, and I would bring Vince, if he would mind coming up to just briefly go over, as he had yesterday, relating to this merit for review.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. The Congress Park Center PUD is a planned unit development that was originally approved by the City Council back in 1993. It has been amended once in the past, but like other PUDs, this particular one contains an expiration date. The expiration date of this PUD will run on December 31st of 2020, and the amendment sought to this PUD is simply to extend that expiration date by another 15-year period. There are no other changes of any sort, let alone substantive changes. What's before you this evening is simply a determination that there is merit for review and then referring it to the county and city planning boards, who will then provide advisory opinions, and on a subsequent date you will be asked to act on that proposed amendment.
Thank you.
So I don't know if there's any questions for Vince relating to this?
I'm all set.
Okay, so I'm going to do a motion. I move that this item has merit for review and refer to the city and county planning boards a request for an advisory opinion to change the expiration date for the Congress Park Center PUD from December 30th, 2020 to December 31st, 2035, and that's a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The matter passes.
Thank you, Mayor. The third item is discussion and vote to settle an Article 7 case for parcel ID number 177.1-52.112. This is one of the items discussed during the executive session held yesterday during the pre-agenda meeting. I move for the City Council to settle the Article 7 case for parcel number 177.1-52.112 for years 2019 and 2020 as follows. Parcel number 177.1-52.112, 2019, the original assessment was $7,885,000. The negotiated assessed value is $5,985,000. That's a reduction of $1,900,000 for a refund of $11,416.72. For the year 2020, the original assessment value is $7,885,000. The negotiated settled assessment value is $5,890,000, a reduction of $1,995,000. There will be no refund for that. Therefore, the grand total 2020 refunds for this parcel listed is $416.72, and that's a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The matter passes.
Thank you, Mayor. If possible, I would like to, I had sent an email, or my deputy had sent an email earlier today, to add in an item to my agenda relating to discussion and vote, resolution to extend temporary outdoor seating areas to November 30th, 2020. So
That's fine.
So we would have to vote on that?
Yeah.
So-
Was that a motion?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The matter passes.
Thank you, Mayor. Discussion and vote, resolution to extend temporary outdoor seating areas to November 30th, 2020. With the continued success of the outdoor temporary seating, I'm bringing another resolution forward to extend the temporary outdoor seating to November 30th, 2020. Business leaders have met with Commissioner Scirocco to discuss this over the past few days, and he was in agreement that we should move this to November 30th as a test period. It was originally to expire October 31st, 2020. So we discussed that today, and therefore we are going to move to adopt the resolution extending outdoor seating to midnight, November 30th, 2020, and that's a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yep. Commissioner Frank, it would be really helpful if you involve me in these conversations, considering code enforcement are the ones that have to go out and make sure everything is compliant when we extend these. I am very much in favor of extending it through November 30th and possibly continuing it beyond that, but it'd be really great if you could communicate these things to me so I could let code enforcement know as well.
Commissioner, nothing's changed. These have all been there for months, so there's no new barriers being put up. So I don't really understand. This was done today with Commissioner Scirocco's office. At the last meeting, you had asked that this be extended, so we were working with your request. So I'm a little miffed at the confusion here. But if you'd like to vote for it, it'd be great. If you don't, that's up to you.
Well, a lot of the restaurants and bars that, as we get into the colder months, want to put up tents, for example, to make sure people eating outdoors are warm. They want to put up heat warmers. All those things have to be approved by code enforcement, so it does actually involve my department.
Again, this has to do with barriers, not with tents and other structures. That's a separate issue. This was just to keep the barriers out there. And this was also to work with Public Works relating to snow removal.
This is just a simple communication request, that's all.
That's fine. Like
All
I said,
those in favor say aye.
Can I just comment?
Sure.
Can I just comment on that?
Sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Commissioner Frank, I want to thank you for putting this on the agenda. I did have a real good meeting today with Todd Simkis and Daryl Legere. They said that this program really helped tremendously, to keep the businesses in business. I don't think we can't do any more for the businesses than something like this. I mean, obviously, putting people inside, you can't have any more than, I think, 20 people, 30 people, whatever it is, whatever the number is. Some of these restaurants aren't big enough, but to have this space outside, I know I've driven through there, and I can see, a big difference in, I'm not seeing empty restaurant fronts. I'm not seeing, that sort of thing. So again, I don't think we can, do too much, for the local businesses. As far as tents, I think we discussed the issue with tents, and I don't think tents are didn't even come up as an option. I mean, if it gets to tents, then you're in a closed. You might as well eat inside. So we're only talking open areas, open seating area, whether it be in the outdoor cafes or whether it be in the areas that we designated on the streets like Henry Street and Filer Street and that sort of thing. But again, one of the things that we really discussed today, and I know we had talked about this previously in regards to any snowstorm that was coming, and the discussion went, if we felt that it was going to be an issue for snow removal, we would contact them, and they would contact Paletti, and they would pull those barricades out of there. So we're going to kind of play it by ear. We're going to do it, month by month, and if we have a mild winter, well, more power to them. I think it'll be great for business. And again, this generates sales tax for us, so it's a win-win for everybody. So thanks for putting it on your agenda.
Yeah, thank you to DPW too, because I do think this was one of the best things we've done for the bars and restaurants. So I really appreciate DPW and everything you've done to facilitate this, so they can be as successful as possible as we get through the winter.
Okay, are we good? Thank you all. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The matter passes.
Mayor, if I could just make a real brief announcement about Sheila Brooks passing, if that would be okay?
Sure.
Thank you. I just wanted to announce the passing of Sheila Brooks, who was the assistant city clerk. She passed away last week. Her tenure with the city is legendary. She began her work with the city as a clerk typist in the accounts department and the assessment department back in 1977. She worked various part-time positions in the accounts department and the Department of Public Works through 1979. And then on January 1st, 1980, she became the full-time assistant city clerk in the accounts department and remained in that position until November of 2010. She also would come in and help us out during election night. She was just a great person. And we all miss her to death, and I know Skip, and I think Commissioner Madigan came right after her, but as Skip can tell you, it used to be her and Gloria Battaglia, who had also just recently passed away. They were sort of a great team there for a number of years, so she was just a wonderful woman, and I just, I know she's in heaven looking down, and she was an absolute sweetheart. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. That was nice. Thank you, Commissioner. On to finance, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I have sort of a lengthy agenda with lots of different notes here, there, and everywhere, so I'll try to stay organized. A lot going on right now. The first item, though, is an announcement about the 2021 budget workshop meeting schedule, and here they are. These are official. On Thursday, October 22nd at 6 p.m., we will meet here in the Music Hall. That's this Thursday, and we will review the finance, accounts, and capital budget. Of course, I always leave time for any general budget discussion. All of these meetings are council meetings. I act as the budget chair, but public comment will be available at each budget workshop. The second one will be Monday, October 26th at 6 p.m., and that will be for the mayor, recreation, nonprofits, anything that falls under the mayor's office. The third one will be Wednesday, October 28th at 6 p.m., and that is for the Public Safety Department, and that will encompass police, fire, and all entities that fall under the Public Safety Department. On Thursday, October 29th at 6 p.m. here in the Music Hall, we will have Public Works. So I have 4 scheduled. If we need more, we will continue to schedule more if there are more discussions that we need to have going forward. A legal notice will appear in the official newspaper, and meetings are noted on the city calendar, and agendas will be published for each of those meetings. Thank you. My second item is to set the public hearing for the 2021 budget. We closed the first public hearing tonight. The second one will be set for November 2nd and will remain open until the 2021 budget is completed. I am really pleased to see how many people are interested in the budget process, and I really do look forward to working together with the public, my fellow council members, the Rec Commission, all the departments going forward. As an aside, the comprehensive budget really should be called the preliminary exercise in presenting a balanced department-wide budget for next year. Many people think the comp budget is already set in stone, when in fact it really never is. It's a fluid, guiding document, but it does always need, where are the rest of my notes, to be in balance. Workshops are working together, public and elected officials. These are opportunities for us to work together. We have until late November to tweak the budget plan, and the budget needs to be adopted with a 3/5 vote. People simply don't know this, and so I'm going to do my best going forward to educate people about the budget process. Charter change has pros and cons, but people need to know the facts, not just the attacks. So we're messing up the timing with COVID, with renovations, and the budget process. So I'm always thankful to clarify the budget process. My next item is a little lengthier. I got to get my computer to turn on. And this one is going to be a discussion about City Hall and Finance Department renovations. And why am I doing this? Well, every year without fail, I am trolled and tagged by the same group of charter change proponents, because we always have an ongoing effort to change our form of government. This does include, at the top of the list, Bob Turner, a government professor at Skidmore College, which is just surprising to me because his public statements about our government sound like those made by someone with a very limited understanding of real-life governing and our existing government of his very own home city. And Pat Kane, who has devoted himself really full-time to changing the city's form of government for over a decade, and many of their supporters and friends. These people seem to think that attacking me and the city's finance department is a way to win votes and change our form of government. They seem to hope for and celebrate gleefully anything the city does by distorting our work into a failure, and then indicate that our city can magically be fixed by merely replacing our council commission model with whatever they've cooked up for the voters this year. Strong mayor? Oops, that failed. Council manager? Oops, that failed twice. Let's see. We have a hybrid council manager mayor thing. Maybe that will fly this time. They look for anything that I might say or do and then spin it into a negative. And there's a long list of attacks that I've endured over the last few years. And I'm going to review some of those. But at this point, I'm going to get on to the details as to why I want to talk about the finance department renovations. DPW and Finance are in process of preparing a detailed review of all expenditures for our thorough and extensive renovation of City Hall, a taxpayer-owned asset that was struck by lightning in 2018 and subsequently caught fire. The Finance Department, prior to the fire, had its own historic renovation project that started back in 2016. Got to jump around a little bit here. Total cost for the renovations, and these are high-level costs right now that I want to explain, are about $12.7 million, of which $10.5 million was bonded in 2018 and 2019. Bonded funds can only be used for purposes set forth with when we bond. So these funds can only be used on City Hall renovation. not recreation, not police, not fire, and not for general operating funds, contrary to what we hear from the charter proponents who think we've spent an ordinary amount of money on renovating City Hall, and my goodness, we could still have rec if we hadn't spent that money. That money was spent 2 years ago, before the COVID pandemic hit. It's important to understand that the city didn't bond this money during the COVID-19 pandemic, as has been asserted by those supporting and leading the latest charter change initiative. We also used $1.2 million in reserve on City Hall renovations, $188,000 from reserves, and some was funded last year in the general fund, about $111,000. This all happened without an increase in your property taxes through 2020, and residents actually saw a property tax decrease last year. Insurance, to date, we've been reimbursed about $630,000. Of this $12.7 million, $2 million was mandated by New York State for court renovations. Now, $1 million of that $12.7 million is the finance department renovations. Great things came out of the lightning strike: an opportunity to get rid of asbestos, an opportunity to restore our beautiful, historic, taxpayer-owned city asset, an opportunity to restore this beautiful music hall that we can now use for our council meetings, and potentially be a revenue-producing asset. And the clairvoyance that the HVAC system is state-of-the-art, especially given COVID. We are so thankful for the energy and life-saving clean air. Thank you, DPW. Many people have begun foiling about these expenses, and in particular, the expenses of the finance department renovation. So, let me point out some of our large expenses that we've had as a result of the renovation. There's a new table and repairs to the city council room, total about $23,000. The front foyer of the DPW offices, repairs and renovations of the entryway alone were $43,000. But we seem particularly focused on a $17,000 charge to finance carpeting and flooring. This covers an area, this $17,000, of 2,200 square feet. And these costs include repairs to the subfloor in the finance office due to damage caused by a raw sewage leak. Also included in that $17,000 figure are costs for the front entryway. This basically comes out to about $7.72 per square foot for labor and materials, which frankly is in line with buying carpet at the Home Depot with padding and installation. So I'm really not seeing the big controversy here about the carpet when you look at how much flooring that carpet covers and all of the other work that needed to happen in the finance department to have that before that carpeting could go down. Here's the other one. Finance spent money on chairs for their offices. Oh my goodness. Well, guess what? That's true. Turns out people need a place to sit when they work in an office. And strangely enough, they also like to have a chair to sit in when they're meeting with others in a conference room or a colleague's office. Apparently, Bob Turner and Pat Kane want you to be upset that the city has spent money on office equipment. Go figure, because these guys will literally do anything for a vote. And I mean anything. The Commissioner of Finance is getting her own personal kitchen and bathroom. Well, that's false. We did get a bathroom for the Finance and IT department in our renovation plan. Finance has always had a small kitchenette, and that was renovated. In no way was I given my own bathroom. Pat Kane likes to body shame me and post toilet seats wherever he can, and usually makes some sort of derogatory statement about me and or my body when he does this. He's a really stand-up guy. He calls people regularly to tell them sordid and false stories about my private life. So I wanted to set the record straight here for the public, for the press. What we did, we had an opportunity to really restore, and I'm missing my best notes here, this beautiful building. No one in City Hall ever thought that such expenditures would be necessary all at once. But the monies spent were reviewed by every department and approved by votes cast by everyone on this council. and were found to be in line with what a proper and lasting renovation to one of our most historic buildings in the city. And I thank you for my time to be able to discuss that. And I don't know if any other member of the council would want to chime in at this point.
Do you want to go ahead, Mayor? Sorry.
I was just going to say you covered it all.
Thank you. I'll say this. I have been asking for months now for as far as I can tell, 6 people have written this new form of government. It's not a form of government that exists anywhere else in the country. They've written it specifically for Saratoga. They've written it, I think, maybe 10 or 15 years ago and tweak it every election cycle. And I find it to be very confusing. And so I've asked them repeatedly over the last couple months if they would consider hosting a forum on Zoom where they explain the form of government in detail to the public, and they let the public ask questions. Just do a Q&A and explain what the form of government is. Because I think that's a pretty basic thing to do in terms of informing voters when they're going to the polls, so they can understand exactly what the change is that they're voting for. And to date, they've refused to do that. Now, the polls open, I believe, on Saturday morning. Is that correct?
Yeah.
I think early voting starts on Saturday morning. So it's Tuesday night. I cannot remember a time in history when voters have had to understand more dramatic, complicated, complex, emotional issues than the voters are having to decide on this Saturday. On a national level, we have, a pandemic, an economic collapse. We have a very heated national political scene. And the last thing I would expect anyone to understand, in addition to all of that, is a totally new form of government in Saratoga Springs. So to me, I'm really bothered by the fact that the people who wrote this new form of government have had a year to explain it to the people of Saratoga Springs, and they've specifically chosen not to do that. And instead, what I've seen, especially in the last few days, when the rec department sent out an email about the rec funding, I saw this group of about 6 people go on social media, gleeful about rec department funding being cut, and specifically pull out invoices that they've clearly had for some time, talking about Commissioner Madigan's office renovation and the things that she ordered that happened 2 years ago, and say, how dare she spend this amount on carpet that could have saved the rec department. That is just an entirely unfair comparison to be making. It doesn't help. It doesn't do anything but make people upset and angry, and it is totally unfair. It is pushing misinformation in the worst possible way. And it's just one part of a larger campaign that I've seen from this small group of people, where instead of laying out what this new form of government is and how it would affect Saratoga Springs, they've chosen to confuse people and misinform people and make personal attacks. And just that approach alone makes me incredibly skeptical about how they would handle our city if this new charter were to pass. And for me right now, as a mother, as a resident, as someone on the city council, to turn over this beautiful city that we have worked so hard to build, to turn it over to a group of 6 people and give them unchecked power as to how they would run this city is terrifying to me. I think that they will bankrupt the city because we have no money to put all these people in place that need to be in place to execute this form of government. I think having a city manager, in this economic climate, if we had a city manager right now, we'd likely be asking that city manager to take a pay cut, in which case we'd see that city manager walk out the door and we'd have to hire another city manager. To have wards, to split up the city into 6 wards, that's not being done by the census, which is how it should be done. The wards were drawn by this group of 6 people arbitrarily. In my world, that's called gerrymandering. There's so many red flags here. It just makes me deeply concerned. But at the end of the day, what it comes down to is information. This group has not given Saratoga Springs the courtesy of explaining the new form of government that will affect every single person in this city dramatically. And because of that and that alone, it's not something I can support.
Thank you, Commissioner. I did want to wrap up my item unless anybody else wants to speak with. I don't like to call people out at council meetings, but I also don't really like to be trolled and tagged all over social media with just absolutely horrid things being said about me, about city, about these beautiful city hall renovations. This is a wonderful building that sits in our downtown. It's historic. And the work that has been done here is top-notch. And it's going to last. It's probably going to have to last another century. And so congratulations to the people of the city of Saratoga Springs, because this is your taxpayer-owned asset. Thank you to DPW. Thank you to our architects. Thank you for our construction engineers. I'm really pleased. Yes, the finance department does look a lot different than, say, the rest of the building, because our project started many years before the lightning struck, and we had decided to move forward with a historic preservation-type renovation project. The Daily Gazette is coming tomorrow to take pictures, because the charter people are emailing the press and want to have pictures of my office now. And I'm fine with that, as long as they also present a fair and balanced story. So,
can I ask the rest of the council, if anyone else on the council, have you heard about what the cost would be associated with this new charter? I think it's really important that the public know, if any of us have been informed about how this would work. A transition in governments would involve the cooperation of this entire table. It would involve money, time, effort, and I don't know if anyone else here has been informed about what that would look like, or if it's just me that's in the dark.
No idea.
So, no idea. Commissioner Soraka, you have not?
I have no idea, no.
Commissioner Frank, have you heard anything about this or know what that transition would look like?
My understanding, I have not read this thoroughly, but when this same basic charter was brought forth back in 2017, they kind of had a list of what they were going to do. I haven't really looked at it because it will fall within our budget period, so if it did pass on November 3rd, it's prior to November 30th, so we would know the budgetary impact at that point in time. But I could not tell you what the expense would be one way or another at this point.
Mayor Kelly, do you know what the costs are or what this transition would look like?
I said no.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear you. Okay, I just wanted to make it clear that no one on the city council has any idea what this transition would look like, what we would have to do, how much money it would cost, and what it would result in. Thank you.
Thank you. So my next item is an announcement. Real Estate Committee to review city-owned parcels for potential sale. Yesterday, the council had an executive session, and we had a wonderful conversation. We know that we are, in need of revenue, and we are now going to undertake asking the Real Estate Committee, which our city attorney, Vince DeLeonardis, chairs, to look at all city-owned parcels, that we have today. And this includes our parking lots, our parking garages, and we're going to start to look at ways to raise money with our various parcels. This could mean a recommendation from the Real Estate Committee to sell parcels. It could mean a recommendation to generate revenue from some of our city-owned parcels. I'm very hopeful about this, and it will take some time, but there is the potential to maybe bring a few $1 million into the city's coffers by doing that. And again, as we work through the budget process, and the budget can be amended at any time, I will keep people posted, because anything that we can do now will only benefit us in 2021. And hopefully we'll be able to do more rec programming and save jobs in police, fire, and in DPW.
I think that's really critical, especially when it comes to DPS and DPW, to make sure that we can provide public safety, to make sure we can provide clear roads, to make sure we can provide water and sewer. There are parcels that the city owns that I think would have a really minimal impact on Saratogians if the city were to sell them, and would have it would be a tremendous help for especially my department and Commissioner Soraka's department. So I hope the Real Estate Committee does everything in their power to facilitate those transactions.
Yeah, I look forward to this. Really great discussion with the council, and so wanted to alert the public that we were going to be working on this project together. My fifth item is a discussion about the local economy and sales tax. So sales tax data for the summer is complete, and the results are rather sobering. August 2020 collection is down 58% over August of 2019. Oh, see, I keep losing my pages. I must have done a calculation incorrectly that I sent to council, and I apologize for that because I've looked at it a couple of times. But June, July, August collection, if I were to take them together, that's our summer season combined, was 25% less than the same 3 months last year. Year-to-date 2020 collection is 23% lower than year-to-date 2019. Sales tax is one of our largest revenue resources, second only to property tax. This will need to be taken into serious consideration as we scrutinize requested amendments to the 2021 comprehensive budget. Each department has been required to adjust to serious reductions in their budgets based on reduced estimated revenue and cash projected for 2021. Just to go off script here a bit, I spent about an hour and a half on the phone with New York State Tax and Finance because that was such a serious drop, that number, that 58%. And they helped me look through the data that they have that maybe I don't have access to. And it is clear that this was because we had, the public was not allowed to attend our race course season. Large food vendors did not operate at the race course. SPAC did not operate. We didn't have the ballet. We didn't have the orchestra. We didn't have Live Nation concerts. We didn't have food service vendors there. And certainly tourism dollars were down. So 58% is quite significant. And of course, we're going into the cold winter months. But I wanted to at least put this out there. The other thing that we discussed is that it is wonderful to be a tourist-based city. It's been very, very good for us over the years. The unfortunate thing about being a tourist-based economy, though, it's not great to be one when you're in a global pandemic. But we are going to weather this, and we're going to get through this, but I do think it's important that I report to the council right away on our major economic indicators, and that was a big one. And even though I knew it was going to be down, even for me, 58% down over 2019 was very significant and very sobering. So thank you.
So now more than ever, the message here is shop local. Everyone should really make an effort to shop local.
That's what I said yesterday. So, yeah, thank you for reminding me. Many people don't know this, so I want people to understand this. Yes, please shop local whenever you can. And if you can't shop local, buy it online and have it shipped to your house. For example, if you can't find the grill you want, go ahead, go to Wilton, look at the Home Depot, pick it out. Go home, order it, have it shipped to your home, because that sales tax comes to the city. But first and foremost, I really do want to encourage people to visit our downtown businesses or all our businesses throughout the city because it does make a really big difference. So thank you for reminding me about that
pleasure.
piece.
Thank you.
Item number 6 is a discussion and vote budget amendments payroll. Lines 1 through 6 bring into the 2020 comprehensive, 2020 budget revenue collections from auctioned computers and workers' compensation reimbursements for IT on-call and water and sewer payroll lines in the amount of $4,252.31. I move that the City Council approve budget amendments payroll as included with the agenda. This is a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The matter passes.
Item number 7 is discussion and vote, budget transfers payroll. Lines 1 through 5 transfer to on-call wage requirements for the IT departments and building department overtime from various other payroll lines appropriations in the total amount of $9,763.34. I move that the City Council approve the budget transfer payroll as included with the agenda. This is a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The matter passes.
Item number 8, discussion and vote, budget transfers benefits, lines 1 through 6, transfer funds to various opt-out and associated Social Security appropriations from hospitalization insurance appropriations in the total amount of $6,253. I move that the City Council approve the budget transfers benefits as included with the agenda. This is a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The matter passes.
Item number 9, discussion and vote, budget amendments benefits, lines 1 through 8, amend estimated revenue collections for dental reimbursements along with expenses for dental premiums for DPW, DPS accounts, and the water fund in the total amount of $12,951.19. I move the City Council approve the budget amendments benefits as included with the agenda. This is a motion.
Is this benefits or insurance? I thought we just did benefits. You just
Thank
read
you.
insurance as
Hold
well.
on one second. There's my item number 8, said benefits. This is also benefits.
Okay.
Payroll, benefits.
Okay.
Okay? I think I made the motion, didn't I?
Yes.
Okay.
Is there a second? Sorry.
Yep.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The matter passes.
Item number 10, discussion and vote, budget transfer, city center contingency. Lines 1 through 4, transfer funds to the city center appropriation for building repairs and maintenance from contingency, $4,000. Business expenses, sales, $7,500. And client expenses, $8,500, and the total amount of $20,000. The city center contingency budget appropriation currently has a balance of $4,000. Following this approval of this transfer, there will be $0 available. So I don't know, I don't understand, but I guess we'll give them that $4,000. I don't know why I'm rattling off $7,500 and $8,500 for a total of $20,000, but what they have in contingency is $4,000, so that's what we'll move.
Okay.
I move that the City Council approve the budget transfer. City Center contingency is included with the agenda. This is a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The matter passes.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. It was a long and intense agenda, a long and intense couple of days, and I appreciate everything. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner. On to Public Works.
Thank you, Mayor. I have 3 items on my agenda. The first item is discussion and vote. This is approval to pay invoices number 211849, number 212114, and number 212407 in a total amount of $6,087 to Paletti Stone Corporation. Paletti is providing the concrete for the Katrina Trask Gateway sidewalk, currently underway at the end of Congress Park. The Katrina Trask Gateway restoration project was completed last November and included a bid alternate for 1,600 square feet of sidewalk. DPW opted to construct the new sidewalk in-house, resulting in a credit back to the city of $40,000. Through this cost-saving measure, we are able to install an additional 5,400 square feet of walkway to completely encircle the south pond. The new sidewalk is just over 8 feet wide, and the concrete surface is being finished to match the style of the Spirit of Life walkway to the north. The result is a smooth, durable, low-maintenance surface. We have already received numerous compliments from park patrons for the increased safety and attractiveness of the walkway. We now are nearing completion of the remaining sidewalk by the end of next week, and these invoices will also be presented for council approval at a future date. Therefore, I move for approval to pay invoices 211-849, 212-114, and 212-407 in a total amount of $6,087 to Paletti Stone, and I put that in the form of a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The matter passes. I want to say, Commissioner, I didn't do it in discussion, but it looks beautiful down there.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah.
We really have a lot of,
Yep.
we've
Yeah,
been
it
getting
really
a lot
does.
of compliments on it.
Yeah.
So, and the guys did a great job. So
Yep, it does. It looks
I'm
really
really
nice.
pleased with it.
Yep.
The second item on my agenda is discussion and vote. This is approval to pay invoice number 212408 and number 526651 in the amount of $1,053 to Paletti Stone Corporation. Recently, the Public Works Utilities Department installed 220 linear feet of new sanitary sewer pipe along Long Alley, a Long Alley. From our best estimate, the original clay tile sewer main had been installed during the 1930s. Over time, the clay tile has become very brittle. Routinely, the Utilities Department has done work on several different sections of Long Alley sewer main because of either sanitary breaks or sanitary plugs. During this work, services had been interrupted for residents that are connected to Long Alley sewer main. Just last month, the Department of Public Works Utilities Department installed 220 feet of new 8-inch SDR plastic sewer main in Long Alley. With this new sewer main, the residents can now expect no interruptions in their utility service. Therefore, I move for approval to pay invoice number 212408 and number 526651 in the amount of $1,153 to Paletti Stone Corporation. I put that in form of a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
And I just want to commend the utilities department on taking charge of that, and my deputy Joe O'Neill on taking charge of that project down there. My understanding is, and Tom Ruin will attest to this, that line has broken a number of times and it's created a lot of problems for those people in that area. So, I mean, rest assured now that there's not going to be any issues with it. So,
That's
good
great.
job, guys.
Thank you.
Yep.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The matter passes.
The third item on my agenda is discussion and vote. This is authorization for the mayor to sign change order number 7 with Collette Mechanical Incorporated for the City Hall renovation HVAC. Change order number 7 with Collette Mechanical is for the changes in scope of work. Removal of 10 wall-hung refrigeration units and condensate piping associated with old VRF system on the second floor was $2,379.35. Added additional heater to the elevator lobby was $1,198.63. Removal of UV cabinets as well as a cut and cap in the LPS LPC lines back to mains was $907.97. Removed the existing outdoor condensers from the second story roof were $2,114.85. And then additional work was done to the RFI number 47 and number 48 for $4,197.92. The total change order was $10,798.72, and that's minus a credit of $6,600. The city portion of the change order is $4,198.72. So therefore, I move for the mayor to sign change order number 7 with Collette Mechanical Incorporated for City Hall renovation HVAC in the amount of $4,198.72, and I put that in the form of a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The matter passes.
And that concludes my agenda.
Thank you, Commissioner. On to public safety, please.
Public safety would like to say that we hate going last at these long meetings. It's a joke. Joking, guys. The first item on my agenda is discussion and vote, authorization for the mayor to sign contracts with Saratoga County for Stop DWI and Stop DWI crackdown funding. These are contracts with the county for Stop DWI crackdown funding. The contract pays us $39,000 in 2 installments. The Stop DWI crackdown funding is to provide additional DWI patrols and checkpoints during crackdown periods throughout the term of the Governor's Traffic Safety Committee grant period. The county will reimburse labor costs up to $10,000. This funding is contingent on the availability of these funds. This agreement may be terminated if grant funds are not available. I make a motion for the mayor to sign the contract with the county for Stop DWI and Stop DWI crackdown funding. This is a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The matter passes.
The second item on my agenda is discussion and vote, authorization for the mayor to sign an agreement with Auctions International. This will allow public safety to sell old equipment and vehicles. Therefore, I make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign an agreement with Auctions International. This is a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The matter passes.
That's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. On to Supervisor. Supervisor Beach.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have an agenda from Supervisor Gass.
Okay,
she
perfect.
Sent to me, so I'll do that after mine. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, so first on my agenda is just a update on the Trails Committee. At the beginning of the year, the county appropriated $75,000 for 2020 for our Trails program. And we actually had that as an increase over the $50,000 we are budgeting for the last 2 years, as we were getting more requests for funding than what we were putting in our budget. So with $75,000 in 2020, we received actually requests for $93,000 for grants from our towns this year for the Trails program. So what we did when we discussed in our meeting for the Trails Committee, we had no open space grants for this year, so we had some extra money in that account. And so today at our board meeting, we fully funded the trails using money from the open space account and making a transfer. We did have a pretty substantial discussion around the condition of the county forest trails. That's a program that was started back in 2009, where we had been converting our forest land into woodland trails. We haven't really put a whole lot of money into those, so we had to take some stock into what was needed and determine the appropriate funding for ongoing maintenance, especially since so many people have taken to hiking and using the county forest parcels for recreation, along with the Zim Smith Trail. We are planning on increasing some funding in our budget for next year for maintenance, but there's certainly far more that is needed to be done on that for our trails. I actually walked all of them this summer. They were in not that great a condition, and we needed that to definitely increase funding for that going forward to meet the needs of our residents, as well as to make our trails in good shape for those who visit them. Second on my agenda is just to talk about the Next Wave communities and what the Prosperity Partnership has just recently done for Ballston Spa. The Prosperity Partnership is tasked with assisting the local municipalities with their economic development plans and goals. Basically, they prepared a report, which I have here, that basically is an economic development plan for the village of Ballston Spa. It's actually very well done. It has a lot of statistical information in it, responses from surveys from the residents, and some ideas for what the village could do to improve and increase its economic development. I thought it was interesting that they opened a new spring in Ballston Spa, but I guess they have a lot of springs down there too, as well as we do. So good for them on doing that. Our water tastes better, but at the end of the day, they did that. So
you better be careful. You have the county.
Yeah, I know, right? The village mayor is not on the board of supervisors. So basically, just to inform the council, Saratoga Springs does have the option to do something like this if they wish to do that. The Prosperity Partnership will do the economic development plans for the local communities. I believe there is no cost for that. So again, if you want to do that, contact Shelby at the Prosperity Partnership. Again, there's no obligation to do anything like that, but it is available. You can download this at the saratogapartnership.org, which is their website, and it's basically right on there to download. Third on my agenda is just to quickly review the animal shelter contracts, which we approved today at Saratoga County. They are an annual contract, but of note this year, there's two things in the contract that are probably worth noting. The first thing is that there is normally what we do is if there's no animal control officer on staff, the county will back up the community to perform animal control. They're taking that out of the contract this year. I don't know if in public safety we have more than one animal control officer, but be prepared for that for next year. And then the other thing that they're going to do, which actually is a good thing for the city, is they're removing the shelter costs from the towns. So I think this is a contract. It's not a huge contract for us. I don't know the exact amount, but they're removing that fee from the towns to pay. And they're actually going to be increasing fees on the actual residents who own the dogs that are brought to the animal shelter for pickup.
So towns and cities, right?
Towns and cities,
okay.
Yeah. So our contract will have no cost in it for next year, which is actually a good thing, especially based on all the discussion from tonight.
Yep.
Every little bit helps. So it was a good discussion. Actually came from the town of Malta, where they are trying to recoup those costs from their contract, and they're having a really hard time doing that with their residents. So we just decided that we'll let the shelter do it, and the towns don't have to go back and pay the shelter for those services. So that should be good for next year. I do have one quick item that I do every single year, and I forgot to put it on the agenda, which is the Home Heating Assistance Program. Just wanted to mention that the Home Energy Assistance Program for the 2020-21 year is scheduled to commence on Monday, November 2nd. For regular benefits and close on March 15th, 2021. They do have an emergency benefit, which opens on January 4th, 2021, and will remain open through March 15th, 2021. It's for low-income residents who need help with energy and heating for their homes. This Department of Social Services does this every single year. There are some income requirements, but if you go to the website for Department of Social Services or call them, they will be able to let you know if you would qualify for that assistance. It's basically a grant to help you pay for whether it's fuel oil, wood products, or electric heat. And they do that every single year. So I just wanted to mention that. I forgot to get it on the agenda by the time this week.
That's okay. Thank you.
All right. Now on to Supervisor Gaston. So she sent me an email here, so let me just read it verbatim. So thank you for understanding that I am unable to attend council tonight in person. After undergoing a precautionary COVID test this afternoon, I remain in quarantine until the results are in. While I cannot be in the council room tonight, I would like to acknowledge that during today's board meeting, which I attended by telephone, the board took several steps toward a more modern approach to government through a flex work agreement for county employees, as well as implementing technology to bring new efficiencies to the Board of Elections through a grant program that I had referred to the Board of Elections. I also want to thank all my fellow board members for taking steps to provide advanced funding for Code Blue in this year, a much needed shift in how we support that program, though there is much more to do. We also voted to expand the COVID-19 wastewater surveillance program that can help public health focus efforts and see upcoming spots of concern. There are no new updates from the External Review Committee at this time, and thank you for your understanding, and do not hesitate to reach out with additional questions or concerns, and wear your mask. And that's from Supervisor Gaston. And that's it.
Thank you, Supervisor. I have one item that I'd like to add. It's an announcement, if that's okay with the council.
Yeah.
We have a UDO Q&A on this Thursday, October 22nd, 2020 at 12 noon. Registration, a Zoom registration is on the website, so you can click that link and you can get into the meeting. And with that, if there's no other business from the council, then we are adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Public affairs programming on Look TV is underwritten by the generous support of Pinnell's Restaurant, classic Italian American food since 1922, and Stored Tech, technology solutions for computers, networks, and phone. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
1922, Babe Ruth debuts with the Yankees. WGY signs on air. Exterminator wins the Saratoga Cup, and Pinnell's Restaurant opens its doors for the very first time. For 5 generations, Pinnell's has been preparing delicious Italian food, served in a comfortable, home-like setting where everyone is welcome. 90 years of authentic Italian recipes, 90 years of the freshest ingredients, and 90 years of the finest classic Italian dishes, all made daily by hand. Pinnell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga dining tradition since 1922.
Most cybersecurity firms deal only with prevention, the systems that block hackers and viruses. Stored Tech knows the root cause is actually good people doing bad things. So we offer a security training program which includes certifying all participants to show they understand the basics.
Technology solutions for computers, networks, and phones. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.